Hello, and welcome to Your Vote Counts, a public service program bringing local candidate interviews to you for the primary election of 2020. This is produced by Capital Community Television via remote technology in collaboration with many community groups: American Association of University Women, League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk Counties, neighborhood associations, and Salem City Club. For the nonpartisan contested races selected, all candidates were invited and all responded. Candidates did not receive the questions that were developed by these sponsoring groups ahead of time. The candidate was asked to prepare a 3-minute opening statement telling about themselves, their qualification, and their vision for the office if elected. I am Bernadine Anderson from the League of Women Voters of Marion and Polk Counties, and I would like to introduce today Jose Gonzalez, who is running for the Salem Council position number 5. He will now share his opening statement.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. Very exciting for me. My name is Jose Gonzalez, and I'm running for City Council, Ward 5, which covers most of Northeast Salem. I've lived in Oregon my whole life. Started off as a farm worker, actually not too far from here. Lived in Mount Angel, Woodburn, Hubbard, Aurora. But I moved to Salem here 25 years ago. Raised my family here. I'm a married father of 4 children, 10 years old to 25. And Salem's always going to be our home. Made that decision a long time ago. And just looking around over the last several years, it just feels that we're not headed in the right direction. A friend of mine, after I talked to a friend of mine about me thinking about doing this, he said, Jose, do you know what responsibility means? And he said, it has 2 parts. Do you have the ability to respond? And do you feel able? The ability to perform. And he says, that's the true definition of responsibility. And you know what it's like? I think it's been after all these years of volunteering locally. I would have never thought that volunteering would have brought me to this point. It's like a part of my American dream. And the last time that our economy went through something like this, our community, is when I did what I could to help. I got involved with groups like United Way, SMART, which is a reading program for kids, Catholic Community Service, the group that puts on the World Beat Festival, Shemeketa. I jumped on the Salem City Budget Committee for a couple years. And I think it was I felt that it was time, because before it was a lot of no's when people would ask me to run. And then one day it just became yes. And I can't tell you exactly what it is. I used to always think it came from up here, but really it came from in here. And I just felt that now was the time, because I wanted to bring a strong voice to Northeast Salem.
Well, thank you for that background information, Mr. Gonzalez. And now we'd like to give you an opportunity to address some of the questions and concerns that were raised by the various groups and that have come up in our community. The first one: many residents don't understand the role council persons play in our lives. Why should residents and voters be interested in this particular race?
You know, I learned that. I learned that as I gathered my signatures to get on the ballot. I must have knocked on 70 to 100 doors. And eventually what I ended up doing is I actually, in my intro, I would actually explain what city council was. I would just do it in one shot. Because the question for them was, what city council? How much do you get paid? Wait, do I have a city councilor? And I let them know that even though most of us know what's happening with national politics and even state to a certain extent, really what touches us is local politics. And decisions are being made every day with or without them. And I think part of it too, is that they haven't felt valued. They haven't felt that their voice is valued. And so that's why they disconnect. So getting people engaged is actually one of my key priorities. But it's really, city politics is really what affects us and our families most directly.
Thank you. Our next question is very much in the news and very much in our faces, and that is, what direction for the care of homeless population would you suggest, taking into consideration business concerns and public safety?
Mm-hmm. If you go to downtown right now, you're not going to see many people. And it's almost like we went back to where we were a year ago. The homeless issue is going to be here with us forever. It was here before it became visible in downtown. And there are a lot of ideas. And, for me, it's been supporting any and all of them. Because if we have 30 people on the street, we're going to need 30 unique solutions. We helped a few people get connected through some landlords with the city's HRAP program. But then now we're doing our best to support them in their new housing. I met a young person that all he needed was a little bit of money to get his ID. That's all he needed to sort of get back on his feet because he had a job waiting. He's still lacking transportation. And I think I was walking downtown the other day before all this happened, and I kept seeing all these signs on the doors, not a public restroom, no loitering. And I just thought to myself, man, if I was in their situation, how would I feel? And it's a tough situation because we have many different types of homeless people, recently houseless, long-term. And actually, the other thing too is we have a lot of people that are on the edge of that. And really, with what's happening today, I'm worried that it's only going to increase and we're just not going to be ready for that wave. But then we also have people that are just getting back on their feet and they need support in their new job environments. They need support, even just how to function in a household. That's one of the things that, we're trying to work with some of these tenants. And so it's going to have to be a one-on-one approach. And the business community, I understand. I think a lot of us just drive by and we point the finger. But some of these businesses are dealing with this thing directly, like they're dealing with it in real life. A lot of us just drive by. So I think the solution has to come from everybody. The ones that think we're doing too much and the people that think we're not doing enough. We're going to have to do it all in order to keep as many people as we can safe, because the safer they are, the safer we are.
Thank you. What should the city be doing to combat climate change? And do you think we need a Salem climate action plan?
We need to do everything we can, to help our world, our climate, our environment. I think just today, who doesn't believe in cause and effect? Everything we do has an effect. And we're already seeing with this, the coronavirus, the effects of it. There's less pollution. But now on the city side, I think we have to do everything we can to reduce our carbon footprint. At the same time, one of the things that was sort of, hard to see was the people driving from out of Salem a couple weeks ago to challenge one of the proposals at the Capitol. That's the other thing we have to do is be careful that either the people get the right message of what we're trying to do, what's going to happen, and make sure it's not, we're not spreading fear. But anything we can do to be more energy efficient, reduce our carbon footprint. It's what I'm worried about too with this, the effects of the virus is with all this lack of economic activity, all it's going to lead to are some of our city, state, national budgets we're going to be dealing with this issue for a long time, the long-term effects. And so we need to do everything we can today to reduce any and all expenses.
Speaking of vision, one of the elements discussed in the updating of the Salem Comprehensive Plan is the term complete neighborhoods. Can you explain or describe what that is and what that means to us?
I think one of the things that, especially Northeast Salem, so Northeast Salem is at least Ward 5, where basically at the two of the main intersections to get into Salem. So Ward 5 is almost what the first thing that most people see as they drive into Salem. Now, a lot of activity, a lot of movement. Even today when streets should be quieter. But if you ask people that live in Northeast Salem, is it walkable? They're going to say no. There are still some portions on Hawthorne where these poor kids are walking in the middle of the night, no lights, no sidewalk. It's on the corner of Hawthorne and Sunnyview. There was a kid was killed. So the term, I understand what they mean by that term, and I agree with it, because what we need to do is, as we're looking to the future, how we're going to develop our city, knowing that 60,000 more people are going to be moving into Salem. Those are just estimates. Could be more or less. But if the current growth trends continue, we'll have that many. So what we need to figure out is how to design a city so then we don't have to drive across town for our basic necessities. So we feel that we can, live, work, enjoy as much as we can within our neighborhood. And of course, that helps everybody. So I can tell you right now that even though Northeast Salem has a lot of services, it's not that safe to walk around.
Assuming there may be cuts in revenue and an increase in needs, tell us your financial priorities for the city budget.
Well, I think it should always be our public safety. Now, one of the things when I was serving on the Salem Budget Committee, I served on it in 2012. And even though the economy crashed 8, 9, 10, the cities and the government started feeling a lot of the pressure years after that because of the lost revenue, because of the way we budget. Usually it's 2 years at a time. So at that time, it was really interesting because at the city budget meetings, people were asking for more money for things. I mean, it was those were the requests. That's how it is. We have a budget committee, people are asking for more. What was cool to see, and this is, I think, something we need to continue, is we need to look to staff. For staff to give us their ideas. I know there's somebody there at those departments that have ideas on how to save money, be more efficient. I mean, that should be part of our culture, is to find ways to, even working from home. I'm hoping that continues to a certain point, and because a lot of the ideas to save money came from the employees. And I think what we need to do, since they're the people that are interacting with our population, we need to incentivize them, motivate them. We need to find those stars that are trying to do everything they can. Even though it's not coming out of their pocket directly, they need to help us find ways to cut where we can and see where there's new opportunities, whether it's through technology, whether it's, seeing what maybe another municipality is doing. But for me, it's especially now we're seeing it, we're feeling it, is making sure that our most vulnerable people are safe, making sure that our small businesses can continue operating. And what's happening now, everybody's walking around. People are out there trying to enjoy, and they're starting to realize that there are some things lacking out there in the community. And those are the things I think we need to work on, is everything that touches us is prioritized. Water, our water system, after what happened a few years ago, police, fire, and then eventually, as we're talking about the growth of Salem, sort of the land use, sort of how we're going to design our city going forward.
Earlier, you were describing some conditions in Northeast Salem. So this question addresses the infrastructure. So when we think about development and maintenance of the infrastructure, like the streets and the sidewalks you were mentioning, that's so important to the face of the community as well as its safety. What other things might you say that would be your way of attending to this? Where would you start?
Well, I think one of the things that where we need to start, knowing that the city council is one of 8 votes, it's a volunteer position, is we need to engage as many people as we can from our community. Because even though a lot of the things we might try to do, we always struggle. I always think of charities and nonprofits. They never have money to market. That's always the challenge is we have all these things we want to get done. There's information, these programs, but how do people find out? So where I always start is making sure that we have as much community engagement out there. People are turned off. People are.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I don't know if you wanted me to continue.
This is your last question before we go ahead into our closing. And I'd like to ask you about the vision for the vitality of our downtown. Mm-hmm. If you take just a minute to address that.
When I moved to Salem in the early mid-90s, downtown Salem was a fun place to go. And, it went through a downturn. And I think no matter what city you're in, I think our culture there in this country is how important a downtown is. It's almost like they measure the city's livability by what's going on downtown. So I want to make sure we continue what we're seeing today, where we have all these new businesses springing up. We have more places where you can walk. We have different kinds of businesses that represent different parts of our cultures, different parts of our community, different cultures. We want to make sure there's more housing downtown. And of course, because it's connected to our transportation hub between our counties, we want to make sure too that everybody feels comfortable, safe, and inviting.
Well, there's certainly more that we could talk about, but I want to thank you very much, Mr. Gonzalez, for our interview today and for the sharing of your thoughts.
I want to thank you. I want to thank the team at CCTV, the League of Women Voters, Salem City Club, everybody that was involved, and just wanted to make sure everybody remembers to vote on May 19th.
Thanks to Capital Community TV for the extensive efforts made to make this program happen. Thanks to our community organizations that contributed moderators and questions for today. And thanks to you, the public, for watching in order to become an informed voter. If you've recently moved or for any reason need to register to vote, you have until April 28th to do so. Ballots will be mailed out beginning April 29th. Remember to vote. You get to do it free this year. And that's because your vote counts.